Okay. Okay. So under the law, statutory bodies are organizations with the authority to monitor that the activities of a business and check whether these institutions are legal and follow official rules. Okay, so for example, I'll give you an example of like General Medical Council is the statutory body which regulates the doctor. So let me write down here examples so that you remember. The General Medical Council is the statutory body which regulates doctors. Okay, so now these statutory bodies may be established to permit a certain level of independence from the government, and but the government is still accountable to guarantee the taxpayers funds. So these bodies are subjected to vary according to the minister, depending on the department, or depending on the ministers, or depending on the government for this year. Okay, so as I said also that various portfolios. Now the meaning of statutory body may change depending upon the legislation. So this is a very vital point. So let me just write this also. Now the meaning of a statutory body may change depending upon the legislation. I'll give you examples. Say for example, a local council is not a statutory body for the purpose or for the purposes of the Financial Accountability Act, but it is for the purposes of the statutory bodies Financial Arrangements Act. So all statutory bodies are established and they operate under the provisions of their own legislation, which sets the purpose. So every statutory body has a purpose and it has some specific powers of the agency. Okay, now this includes what are the provisions and how, so what are the fees to be charged, what are the powers of the officers, what the body represents, which state of the country. Okay, so basically now let me give you an example of UGC so you can understand what it is exactly. So UGC is a statutory body, and by way of examples I will explain you what is the statutory body role in India. So let us take an example of UGC. So the example of statutory body is the University Grants Commission. Okay, so what is UGC? It's a statutory, so it's a statutory organization established by an act of Parliament in 1956 for the coordination, determination, and maintenance of standards of university education. Let me continue some more relevant points of UGC. Now, apart from providing grants to eligible universities and colleges, the commission also recommends the central and state governments on the measures which are necessary for the development of higher education. Okay, so now UGC functions from New Delhi, as well as it has 6 regional offices. Okay, so let me write down that more so you have more clarity to this. Okay, so it functions, so the head office is New Delhi. It functions from New Delhi as well as its 6 regional offices. So I will discuss about the 6 regional offices also, because as I said, the head office is in New Delhi, but it has 6 regional offices. Okay, so where are they located? Let's see. Offices located in, the first is Bangalore, Bhopal, Guwahati, Hyderabad, Kolkata, and Pune. Okay, so apart from that, I will also speak about some more important statutory bodies. Okay, so that if you remember, so let me write down. Okay, so important statutory body. So these are some important statutory bodies for your information, for your general knowledge. Okay, to enhance your current affairs. So the first one is very important, and I would like you to read some and have some information of each and every statutory bodies. Okay, you can even Google check yourself so that you can have an information. So the first one is National Human Rights Commission. The second one is National Commission for Women. The third one is National Commission for Minorities. The fourth one is National Commission for Backward Classes. Fifth is National Law Commission. The sixth one is National Green, very important body, Green Tribunal. The seventh one is National Consumer Disputes and any grievances also, for that also there is a tribunal. And Redressal Commission. And the last one is Armed Forces Tribunal. Okay, so these are the various, as I said, important statutory bodies. Okay, and that is why it is so important. Okay, so now we will talk about some banking sector reforms which have a very important and relevant for UPSC. So there were various kinds of committees, which helped for the complete reform of banking sector in India. So we need to know that. Okay, so we will start the next thing. Okay, let me just wrap this quickly. Okay, so yes, so let me write down the banking sector reforms in India. Okay, so the first one I will talk about is Narasimham Committee 1 and 2. Then Nachiket More Committee and P.J. Nayak Committee. So these were the three famous committees. Okay, so the first banking sector reform started with Narasimhan Committee. So let me just start with this first. Okay. Yes. So first, Narasimham Committee, okay, report. And this report was given in the year 1991. So what was the first thing? So this report was given to promote the healthy development of the financial sector. So looking at this, the Narasimhan Committee wanted to promote the healthy development of the financial sector, and that because of this they made some recommendations. Okay, so let us talk about one by one the recommendations of the Narasimha Committee. The first one is establishment of a 4-tier hierarchy for banking structure with 3 to 4 large banks And those 3 to 4 large banks, how can we forget SBI? So obviously SBI is included. So including SBI at the top, and at the bottom rural banks. So at the right at the top should be SBI and the right at the bottom should be rural banks. Okay, and these rural banks should be engaged in agricultural activities. So agricultural activities. Okay, so that was the first recommendation. Let's go with the second one. Yes, so the second recommendation, the supervisory functions over banks and financial institutions can be assigned to a semi-autonomous body sponsored by RBI. So the supervisory functions, all that should be having, there should be a separate body and that should be sponsored by RBI. So it will be easy for that, a body can be made separately only for looking after the entire supervision for banks and various financial institutions. Let's see the third one. A phased reduction in statutory liquidity, so that is SLR ratio. So there must be a slow reduction of SLR. Okay, so a phased reduction in statutory liquidity ratio. Fourth, phased achievement of 8% capital adequacy ratio. Fifth, abolition. So we should close down. So abolition of branch licensing. So these were the very vital recommendations. Let us continue with the sixth point. Okay. So the sixth point was proper classification of assets and full disclosure of accounts of banks and financial institutions. So there must be each and every bank should have a proper classification of its assets, and there must be a complete, you must completely open out all the books of accounts so that everybody can check it. So there must be transparency and you cannot be secretive. Okay, the seventh recommendation, deregulation. So there must be less regulation of interest rates. The eighth one, delegation of direct lending activity of IDBI to separate corporate body. Okay, let's see the last 2 points. Okay, the ninth one was competition among financial institutions on participating approach. 10th, setting up asset reconstruction fund to take over a portion. So there was a setting up of assets reconstruction. So there should be, like, assets also should be reconstruction, should be changed time and time, and that is why there should be a separate fund to take over a portion of the loan, okay, of banks loan portfolio. So whenever, so most of the banks, they falter because of the recovery, so that is why take over the loan portfolio. So on the banks who are having defaulters, so this entire list of loan portfolio should be given to the asset reconstruction department. Okay, so setting up an asset reconstruction fund to take over a portion of the loan portfolio of banks whose recovery has become difficult. Okay, so now let us understand, looking at the recommendation, what did the government do? Because now the government should also focus on the recommendation, and what did they take help of Narasimham committee. Let's see. Okay, so banking reforms measures of government, okay,